A posto, yeah. Ben ritrovati a questa quinta sessione.
Welcome back to this fifth edition of the Turin Islamic Economic Forum. It's a pleasure to introduce a new theme in today's event, which is the one of health tourism, halal-friendly health tourism. So we have exceptional guests. We have Musadal Al-Razouki, who is medical doctor and a super expert on halal-friendly health. We have Mr. Mario Minola, who is General Director, Health Area for the Piedmont region. We have Mr. Giuseppe Frezzoli from the Humanitas Group, Turin, and Giovanni Della Valle, Director General, Città della Salute, Turin. I will give the floor immediately to Musad in order to listen to the perspective from the Middle East of what it means halal-friendly and what the needs are. Musad, I will ask you to please be brief and keep it within 10 minutes time so that we have enough time for the other presentations. Thank you very much. You have the floor.
Let me just reduce the volume since I think there is some feedback. I hope now it is a bit more clear. So first of all, I just would like to qualify the term healthcare tourism, because I'm not a fan of the term tourism, because we hope that all the people who leave their countries to seek medical care are doing so on an urgent basis because the care is not available. Of course, this is not the case for most of the patients who actually leave the Middle East. Today, I will talk about specifically the Gulf Cooperation Capital, or the 6 countries that make up Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and of course, Saudi Arabia and Oman. These countries are net exporters when it comes to patients, especially for certain high quality care needs. Of course, the reason these patients have to go abroad is twofold. The first case is that because our populations, especially our local populations, are very small, and in many cases smaller than some of the largest European cities, there is no way that we can actually sustain highly specialized quaternary care or even tertiary care in many cases, whether it's surgeons or highly specialized physicians that have subspecializations in a variety of, let's say, both surgical and medical specialties. So because of this, because we don't have the per capita patients, then it is usually very important for us to have strong links and relationships with large population centers or academic medical centers in these large populations, in cities with large populations. And we typically see a large number of patients going to both Western Europe as well as the United States. These are the preferred destinations for patients, either sponsored by our governments or patients who are paying out of pocket, who are seeking higher quality care. Now, there are certain instances, so this is the first, let's say, type of care, which is patients who actually require subspecialty care and the quality of care is not available in our countries. The second type, and even though these countries have a very high GDP per capita, sometimes it's actually cheaper to treat many patients abroad than to treat them locally, and this is usually an issue with our access to care. So we have examples where some countries will actually, or some governments will send patients now to the east, usually to Thailand or to India, and the idea there is to seek, let's say, a more affordable type of care, whether it's a surgery or ongoing treatment such as physical therapy. Now, these are, let's say, the economic reasons for sending patients abroad. Unfortunately, especially in my country of Kuwait, we have also certain political reasons that patients are sent abroad. Either they are very senior government officials, and this is a way to reward them for their years of government service, to send them to the best hospitals, even though the treatment might be available here in Kuwait and usually is. Thankfully, our treatment and the level of doctors we have has only been increasing for the past 15, 20 years. And then obviously we also have a very active parliament here in Kuwait, and the data shows us that when there is an election year here in Kuwait, we typically see more patients sent abroad, and that is because the incumbent members of parliament typically pull favors with our Ministry of Health and with other government agencies that send patients abroad, and they tend to send patients who really have very low medical relevance into the United States or into Western Europe, as also as a kind of, let's say, wellness vacation. And the best, if we take the best, let's say the best notion forward. Now, what are the costs? A few years ago, we did a very quick calculation based on the amounts both spent by the governments as well as the private sector. I think this was maybe back in 2012, so definitely pre-COVID and pre even, I would say, the rise of digital health. On average, these 6 countries that I mentioned spend between $12 to $15 billion sending patients abroad. So this is certainly a very large number, and obviously, and this is an annual number. And if we would translate that into spending on our healthcare infrastructure here in Kuwait or in the GCC, this would translate to hiring thousands of doctors and building hundreds of beds. And certainly this is obviously the objective and the requirement since, as the world has shut down during COVID-19, we see that, government and local healthcare systems need to be able to take care of at least the local population. So these are certainly some of the challenges. This region as well probably is one of the most undigitized regions in the world. And we all know that healthcare globally is also not as digitized as other industries, even if we compare it to industries such as the airline industry or the banking industry. Healthcare globally is still very far behind. And then finally, on the topic of the halal, or let's say the Sharia compliant nature of healthcare, thankfully it is an industry where for most of the services and the types of either therapeutics or diagnostics done in healthcare, it is very Sharia compliant as an investment vehicle, so long as you adhere to Sharia principles. Let's say as an industry, with the exception of cosmetic surgery, many scholars really do not have any issues with people investing in healthcare or providing healthcare services. The issue of cosmetics does get us into a bit of a gray area. I've heard 2 different opinions, either saying that it is permissible under Sharia law, and some would say not permissible. Obviously, each case has its own merits, let's say. But in general, this is something that I think is very comfortable for us being investors in the life sciences industry, especially in a region where being Sharia compliant is increasingly becoming important. And certainly it is very easy for us to also access various charitable funds, either to help us support ongoing patient, let's call it treatment, or even to look forward towards what is more important in healthcare, which is to prevent patients from being sick in the first place. And this is something that will also get us into the insurance side of healthcare. And I know it is not really covered in medical tourism, or as I prefer to call it, healthcare abroad, which is typically following a fee-for-service model. But certainly we see that a big part of Islamic insurance, which is known as takaful, a big part of that is actually something that is provided for healthcare. And this is very important because the takaful model is seen by many as a real, pure community-based insurance model. And we've seen examples of this now in the US, where they are trying to have the community itself become responsible for the healthcare of each other. And this, again, opens a door for interesting new technologies such as the blockchain or artificial intelligence, whereby essentially by decentralizing the insurance capabilities of takaful, you are then no longer in need of a very expensive insurance company with all its buildings and all its staff and all its actuary. And using technology, you can then really help the community essentially police itself when it comes to the needs of healthcare and hopefully encourage the community, both the population of the patients as well as the healthcare providers and the healthcare suppliers, such as the pharmaceutical firms, to really focus on prevention and to prevent patients from being sick in the first place. So I hope this was a very good background into, let's say, the topic of overseas care, as well as some of the challenges being faced by our local governments here in the region. And certainly I'm looking forward to being part of this panel, and any questions, I'm happy to address them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this presentation. Thank you very much for talking about the needs and also the modalities of funding of these care abroad. From our perspective, it's important to consider from the territorial viewpoint what we can offer. And in order to do that, I will give the floor to Mr. Mario Minola. You know that healthcare in Italy is regional based, so therefore he's the General Director of the Health Area for Piedmont region. Mr. Minola, you have the floor to provide us with an overview, a state of the art of the situation in our region. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. I would like, since we are connected from remote with the speakers of the Islamic world, to have a synthesis of what our offer system, healthcare offer system, has to provide. I share what the previous colleague has mentioned, that the fact of this title, health tourism, in Italy we say it's an oxymoron, because this means that mainly these can be a very important driver for our economy, in particular the regional economy, in particular for the Piedmont region. We have health care institutes, both private and public, that represent, that make up for a widespread network in the region. And they also do have some examples of highly specialized techniques and technology. And from this viewpoint, it is important to consider the three main hospital institutes, two in Turin and one in Novara, and the three hospitals that we call hubs. So they are reference centers for macro areas of the Piedmont region. And also structures that might be partially private or partially public participated, that are institutes for hospitalizations, but also for research. For example, Candiolo, that is highly specialized in cancer treatment, and also other centers. I will make an example. For example, the Orthopedic Center of Quadrante, which is based in the lake area of the Verbagno-Cusio-Ossola province, always in the Piedmont region. So these are very important entities that can certainly provide complex care with a level of effectiveness and with positive effects. If quality is also associated to quantity, we should also recognize that in Piedmont, we make for about 700,000 hospitalizations per year, and we have 5 billion days hospitalization, and we have about 100,000 of benefits, healthcare benefits. And this shows and is a proof of the importance and the quality, due to the fact that these benefits are subject to a quality assessment. They are subject to risk management. So we have certifications in terms of international structures. Those structures, and I have just mentioned, are certainly keeping up with the highest standards at the international level. So from this viewpoint, the Piedmont region is certainly able to meet the needs. I have very much appreciated also the fact that the previous speaker has spoken about prevention. We have been among the pioneers in Italy from this viewpoint. And I believe that as far as the fact of doing things at the right time, one of the most important indicators that we use in order to monitor our structures is the fact of being accurate, doing the right things at the right time. Of course, it's something new. It's a new frontier that shall be explored. We will need to set up rules for that. But certainly from that viewpoint, we have the possibility of providing adequate responses to the requests coming from an exchange like today of this type. So certainly Piedmont region is candidate in this sense, because from this viewpoint, the regional healthcare system is keeping up with the highest standards at the international level. From this viewpoint, our technologies are subject to continuous renewal. We use the most modern techniques based on artificial intelligence. We have excellent experts in robotic surgery. And talking about transplants, we are really at the forefront in many aspects at the European and international level. I will stop here, and I am available for any questions you might have. I know that the next speaker who will follow will be talking about one of the largest hospitals, which is the City of Health, the Città della Salute in Turin, which is equipped with all the techniques and expertise at the international level. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Minola. Thanks a lot. We have a short video that will anticipate the presentation by Mr. Fraizoli. Please, let's launch the video.
Ospedale questo.
Ecco quindi La parola al dottor
So now the floor goes to Dr. Fraizzoli of Humanitas, Torino. Sorry, but there is no audio.
Non la sentiamo. Adesso sì.
Yeah, okay, now your voice is back. Thank you for your invitation, and I would like to thank Professor Biancone. I would like to say hello to all the persons who are taking part in this forum. Humanitas, as you may know, is one of the largest private groups of healthcare in Italy, and there are three structures in Piedmont: Gradenigo, Clinic Cellini, and Fornaca, which are private clinics. They offer they work also at public and private level. And they are an example of cooperation between public and local healthcare through the management of all type of crises and emergencies. Clinica Fornaca has been is part of this picture and has been for over 60 years one of the best realities in private clinics in Italy. One of the features of Clinica Fornaca is that unlike many private clinics, it is actually like a public hospital with a very complex organization and a set of services comparable to a large hospital. Every year we carry out 70,000 examinations and tests with covering all medical specialties. We have over 700 specialists, the best in Piedmont, who also can rely on advanced technologies. With the most evolved diagnostic tools and instruments. Thanks to the high quality and safety and security standards, Clinica Fornaca cooperates with the main public wealth institutions in Turin, starting from Città della Salute and Scienza to Turin University. So we can host inside the building also private activities of very important and skilled professionals in Turin. We have the best comfort and technological tools, and each patient has a personalized assistance, let's say. And there is a lot of care also on the side of the working and familiar and family aspects. Talking about assistance to patients, I would like to refer to Fornaca organization model, which studies the best practice in the universities in Italy due to its efficiency of response at all levels. Talking about, apart from the quality from the healthcare point of view, Fornaca is also focused on well-being and comfort during hospitalization, so with 5-star services, constantly checking patient satisfaction. Fornaca is hosted in a very historical villa in downtown Turin, in one of the best, most famous neighborhood in Turin, and it grants privacy, safety, and constant monitoring of the patients in the different rooms. With our participation today in this forum, we hope we can contribute to the interest of Islam to Piedmont and our structures. And we also have very important expertise, and we like to be part of them. So I would like now the floor to go to Giovanni Lavalle, Director General of Città della Salute.
Direttore, non sentiamo l'audio. Non sentiamo ancora.
Sorry, we cannot hear Dr. Lavalle.
No?
Adesso sì.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Very well. Good morning, let's say, and thank you very much again for the invitation. I would like to thank the colleagues that talked before me, and thank you, Sir Minola. I will try and be brief, using some slides to talk about, in general, to very quickly talk about Città della Salute di Torino and give a contribution which may be useful. Here are my slides. It is Città della Salute is a university hospital, so within this building there is both university and hospital care, and it was born basically in 2012 from the connection of three previous realities. And it is now represented by these four great hospitals which were put together, Molinette, CTO, and Sant'Anna, and each of them is specialized in different sectors and specializations. But during the past few years, thanks to their being gathered together, we have developed a large concern, over 2,000 beds, 10,000 employees, 90,000 hospitalization a year, 170,000, 80,000 emergency cases. So, and it is a large supplier of care for the patients. So we were obliged, of course, to revise organization. Molinette was the largest hospital, which has become part of this whole group. And Molinette is also the first center in Italy for transplants. And despite the COVID crisis, we had the largest number of transplant of multiple organs, and it has a lot of site specialization. Then we have Sant'Anna, which is a gynecologist point, and then we have CTO, which is a trauma and orthopedic center, which also involves rehabilitation of those who had accidents and problems to the spinal consequences. And then we have the last, Regina Margherita, which is a pediatric hospital. Apart from these hospital activities, we further have San Giovanni Vecchio, which is, we carried out outpatients activities and screening, and San Vito for dialysis. I would like to focus on Regina Margherita for children. Sorry, I need the next slide. Yeah. So Regina Margherita, and we have worked a lot on this hospital, which has become a reference point for all specializations, and it covers all possible sectors that you find here listed, but also transplants. Thanks to the surgeons of Molinette and the surgeons of Regina Margherita, together we also carried out transplants on children. So there is a cross action which has increased the specialization and highly complex activities within the hospital for children as well. It is a reference center also for pediatric oncology. And let's say that Regina Margherita is a national hub for a number of sectors. The Città della Salute's mission To be brief, that is to say, assistance activity, didactic and research activities which are combined. We need the next slide to be so high complexity, high specialization, and research that go hand in hand with patients' support, so that all different sectors can be developed in synergy. This was the mission of Città della Salute. If you can send, please, the next two slides, because I cannot just move on. I am not able to move on and send the next slide. I think there is a some sort of technical issue.
Collegamento. Va bene, vado avanti, poi tanto le teste apriranno, lo stato della sintesi di quello che vi dicevo.
So what is important, talking about assistance and high complexity, high specialization, assistance to patients. We have, apart from this, we have also the last slide, which is very important. Città della Salute and Scienza di Torino has also launched a project for Torino and Piedmont region, that is to say, the development of the new hospital, of the Parco della Salute, Scienza e Innovazione, big park, which has been defined the end of September. Started the reclamation of the territory where the new hospital is going to be built. And this will be the hub, the regional hub. We focus where high specialization and high complexity, technology-wise, will be focused. So this will be the future development of the previous situation. I mean, also Città della Salute, CTO, and the orthopedic and trauma center will remain. And we will move to Parco della Salute, health park, basically part of the orthopedic work. So novelty and innovation, digital innovation as well, because we are trying also to develop digital innovation which can cover and the whole of the hospital reality. This is the rendering of the new hospital development with two areas, one dedicated to patients' assistance and the second area which will be dedicated to research. They will be aligned, working in perfect synergy which nowadays identifies our approach. Before going on to greetings, and conclusions, I would like Alberto to ask a question to Musad. Thank you. Musad, from your point of view, can we talk about Islamic approach to health?
Allora è caduta la connessione.
Sorry, I think the connection is no longer up. We will send him the question and we will receive an answer. But I would like to thank Musa Dallazzucchi, Mario Minola, General Director Health Area, Piedmont Region, Giuseppe Fraizzoli, Chief Executive Officer, Humanist Torino, and Giovanni Lavalli, Director General, Città della Salute Torino, to be part of this panel. And we hope this will be the first of the many initiatives to be developed to give resources to healthcare and our territories. Thank you very much, and see you